Welcome to this explainer. Today we're tackling something that I know is just deeply, deeply relatable. I mean, have you ever felt that sheer, absolute exhaustion of doing everything right? Putting your best foot forward, only to be judged anyway? You act with the best intentions, but bam, you still face this massive wall of misunderstanding. It is incredibly draining. So today, we are going to reframe how we look at that exact struggle.
Okay, let's just dive right into this. Sometimes, even when you've done the absolute right thing, some people still refuse to believe you. Why is that? Seriously, why do we constantly hit this brick wall? In our source material today, which is drawn from a really profound spiritual reflection, we're going to unpack the root of this exact problem. And, more importantly, figure out how to actually find some peace in the midst of it. Let's kick things off with our first section, the pain of being misunderstood.
This is a really painful reality we all face at some point, isn't it? You try so hard to prove yourself to people who, let's be honest, have kind of already made up their minds to tear you down. You give them your all, and yet, the door just remains shut. You speak the truth, they think you lie. You explain yourself, and they still don't understand. It's a total paradox. We naturally think, if I just find the perfect words, or if I just show them one more little piece of evidence, then they'll get it. But nope, no amount of right action seems to move the needle for them. Which brings us to our next section, closed hearts and minds. So what's the actual root cause here? Well, it really comes down to this. Bright light plus closed eyes equals still dark. It's so simple, right? But it's absolutely profound. The clearest truth, the brightest light you could possibly shine, literally cannot penetrate a closed mind. I mean, if someone just refuses to open their eyes, they are going to stay in the dark, no matter how ridiculously powerful the flashlight you're holding happens to be. Now, think about how this applies to the words we say. Beautiful music plus earphones equals silence. You could literally be playing an absolute masterpiece. You could be offering the most beautiful, well-intentioned explanation in the world, but if their ears are blocked, if they've already tuned you out with their own internal noise, yeah, your masterpiece is fallen on completely deaf ears. And finally, flowing water plus an upside-down bucket equals no water caught. This just perfectly cements the whole idea. You cannot pour understanding into a closed vessel. If a person's mindset is already positioned defensively or negatively towards you, kind of like that upside-down bucket, your efforts are just going to spill right over the sides, completely wasted. And all of this leads us to an absolutely crucial core truth. Understanding is a process that does not begin in the mind. Rather, it begins in the heart. A lack of understanding isn't a cognitive failure. Actually, scratch that. It's truly just a lack of trust. It's an unopened heart. If they don't trust you, well, they simply won't understand you. And that's true no matter how logical or perfect your argument is. Let's look at how this plays out historically in our next section. Lesson from the Gospel. You see, this isn't just some modern psychological phenomenon. Believe it or not, even Jesus faced this exact same human frustration. Picture this. He's surrounded by doubting crowds demanding plain answers during the Feast of Dedication in Jerusalem. And how does he reply? He says, "I told you, but you do not believe, because you are not among my sheep." Jesus immediately hit the nail on the head. He recognized that their questioning wasn't about a lack of information. I mean, he had already told them. It was a fundamental lack of belief. Let's compare these two concepts for a second. We have a lack of explanation versus a lack of trust. Our source emphasizes that we mix these two up all the time. We constantly blame ourselves thinking, I just didn't explain things well enough. But in reality, it's almost always a lack of trust on their part. So listen to me here. You should never, ever blame yourself for someone else's refusal to have faith in you. Which naturally leads us to a real shift in perspective. Here is our next section, the controls you hold. I want you to really focus on this contrast. Think about what you absolutely cannot control. You cannot control others' opinions, their perceptions, or the stories they decide to tell about you. It's totally 100% out of your hands. But look at the flip side. What you can control, your response, your ability to love, your goodness, and your own clear conscience. Your peace, it comes entirely from managing this side of the equation and completely letting go of the rest. And that brings us to some highly actionable advice for protecting your peace. First, stop wasting your energy on closed minds. Just stop. Do not beg to be believed. And please, don't sacrifice your true self just to gain someone's acceptance. Instead, be authentic to God's will. Break that exhausting cycle of people-pleasing, because if you have nothing to hide, you literally have absolutely nothing to prove to anyone else.
Let's move into our final and deeply uplifting theme, God's view.
To truly find lasting peace, we've got to shift our ultimate focus away from that exhausting cycle of human validation and look toward divine approval. Because let's face it, human judgment is incredibly flawed and fickle. Ultimately, there is only one judge that truly matters. One. If your conscience is clear before him, if you know in your heart you've done the right thing, then the crowd's opinion, it's completely irrelevant. You can sleep peacefully at night knowing you are right before God, even if the rest of the world is screaming that you're wrong. And look at this powerful promise from Jesus highlighted in the source material. No one can take them out from my hands. When you belong to his flock, he knows you, he protects you, and he holds firmly onto you. Even when the entire world completely misunderstands who you are, God does not. You are totally secure in his grasp. So how do we actually live this out day to day? Well, I like to call this the Barnabas approach. The source highlights the biblical figure Barnabas, who was known as a good man full of the Holy Spirit. His strategy was beautifully simple. Be good, allow people to judge you, and wait for God's blessings. That's the whole shebang. He's simply focused on serving the Lord and doing good, trusting that authentic goodness always brings ultimate blessings, completely regardless of what the critics have to say. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with this really provocative question to ponder. Are you a sheep obedient to God or a critic of other people? Seriously, where is your heart focused right now? Are you listening to the voice of the shepherd, or are you just too busy finding flaws in everyone else? I want you to think about that long after this explainer finishes. Let go of that desperate need to be understood by everyone. Instead, find your true peace in the one who actually knows your heart.